Let's talk about the 2017 Alpha Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio as it appears in the Crew 2. Quadrifoglio stands for the four-leaved clover, which served as a symbol of the Alfa Romeo's racing team. Giulia Quadrifoglio represents Alfa Romeo's return to creation of the rear-wheel drive sports sedan, the market they were absent from for a while. Well, let's look at the statistics in the game. It starts off at 178 performance level, 307 km/h top speed, 510 brake horsepower. In game, it could be upgraded to 280 performance level, at which we get 364 km/h top speed, 686 brake horsepower, from 0 to 100 km/h in 2.37 seconds, quarter mile in 9.37 seconds, 1 and 0.1 lateral G, and brake distance for 100 km/h to 0 in 16.61 meters. And of course, the parts will give us some other bonuses, as you can see. Now, how does that all translate in the game? Well, let's go to the Dominion Forsberg number 7 race to show you the performance of the car. This race has plenty of turns and some straights, and it is a good way to show the speed and the grip that the car provides. First thing first, I would like to say that the ghost that you're going to see is a Mazda Miata MX-5. I've been trying to beat the ghost, but I won't be able to beat the ghost, sadly. Alright, so here we are, we're gonna start off here, we're going in the 5th gear here, and as you can see, I'm using Nitro to speed up, and I'll be using Nitro to speed up after the turns quite often, because this car needs some of this kind of a push to go out of turns quickly, and I'm trying to use that in order to beat the ghost. So the next turn we're going to go into the 4th, and keep going in the 4th for the next several turns again, and then try to speed up to go into the 5th, in order to be able to catch up to the ghost. And as we go here through these turns, we're going into the 5th, and we are holding RPMs high as possible without actually kind of drifting out of the turn. Here again, 2 small turns, we are slightly lifting off in order to make it through, again slightly lifting off in order to make it through this turn, and now pressing forward in this and using Nitro to go into the 6th and kind of speed up as much as possible to catch up with the ghost before we dropping back to the 5th in order to go through the next several turns. I would like to note right now how well the car sits on the road. It does not drift off during the turns. It has a very good way of taking the turns. The only problem and why I keep using Nitro after the turn is that it is very slow to accelerate after taking the turn. I need to use Nitro in order to speed up. And here again we are in the 4th taking these turns, and during these turns I cannot use Nitro right now, but as soon as there's a bit of a longer straight, I'm able to go ahead, use Nitro to push myself into the 5th and go ahead and try to keep the RPMs high and try to catch up to the ghost, which I'm unable to do despite of all my attempts. Sadly, that's the situation. Again, lifting off here and going through all these turns, now just pushing down, increasing the speed and trying to make it here again to catch up as much as possible, but I'm still falling behind when it comes to the ghost. And I would like to note how well the car sits on the road. Again, I would like to say that because I did say it before, but I would like to emphasize that because I really enjoyed playing races in this car. Not all the races were enjoyable, but many were. And again, we use Nitro here, we exhausted mostly, and now we're going into the 4th and take the next several turns in the 4th. The ghost has run away too far from us, we are unable to catch up. I'm using Nitro again to push myself to the 5th gear here and start taking these turns in the 5th gear. As you can see, I cannot keep up the RPMs high enough. I would say they've been dropping because I cannot keep the pedal to the metal all the way through the turns. I do have to lift up just a bit. Here's another turn where I lift off just a bit, and now I'm pressing down and I'm using all the Nitro that is left just to improve my time. And here we go, we did not beat the ghost and we did not beat this race, but in the end it still was enjoyable driving this car. Coastal Range to LA is a race made up of turns and a good way to show how this car performs in such a race and to discuss the issue that I found with this car, as the issue relates to the turns.
3,
here we begin with the obligatory section where we try to push through the opponents in order to get to the front. We are in the fourth gear, we're taking the turns, but like I said before, there is a bit of a problem with the turns here. I cannot really get out of the turns fast enough, and so I get past. While in the previous race I was able to use Nitro to kind of speed up out of the turns, here because there are turns quite frequent, use of Nitro is very difficult until I get to such sections like I had before here, where it was possible to get into the fifth because there was a big enough a straight. So again, here in another situation where there was a big enough a straight and long enough of a straight for me to stay in the fifth and to push forward, but then as soon as the turns are coming in, I have to drop to the fourth, as you can see here, and I'm behind. I'm beginning to lose distance. Yes, I'm trying to kind of close it off, but as you can see, the opponents are beating me still, and as I'm trying to push forward with Nitro, I'm unable to 100% catch up. I'm kind of constantly contesting my position. But as soon as I get to the straights, you can see that I'm able to go ahead and press it down. I'm able to use Nitro, I'm able to use everything that's available to me to just get past. As you can see, yes, again, I'm getting past here because we are coming up to a turn. I'm dropping speed to get through the turn, but then again, I'm trying to catch up to the first one, and it's pretty much almost possible for me to get there until I again run into a bunch of turns. And this is what allows opponents to pass me. Again, 2 more turns here. I cannot use Nitro to speed out of the turns because they are so frequent. I won't be able to brake fast enough, and I will be hitting the sides like this here situation. Although I do hit the sides even without the use of Nitro, but that's usually because I kind of didn't brake fast enough. Again, that will be on me. But when I hear this situation, I'm falling behind because of the turns, and that's because, again, here I hit the sides because I didn't kind of drop the speed fast enough. And like I said, I'm falling behind because there are turns. I have to constantly shift down into the fourth or into the fifth from the sixth in order to go smoothly into the turn, to go into it clean and get out of it very clean. But I lose the speed and I lose my position. And this was something that was bothering me for a while, because in some races I was doing really well. Here you can see another opponent is trying to pass me, and in some other races I was doing not so well. I could not understand why that was the case. You see again, another opponent has passed me. I'm in the fifth position now because of the turns, but now we are going into the situation where there's more or less some kind of a straights. They're a bit curved of a straights, but they allow me to speed up into the fifth and later go ahead and push to the sixth and thus try to pass the opponents. So here we are using the straights again in order to catch up to the cars that are in front of me, in order to gain back our position. As you can see, it's pretty well done when we have straights. Now have to drop down to the fourth. Again, I'm going to accelerate to the fifth because there's enough of a space between the 2 turns, but I'm dropping down to the fourth here again. I'm going to go ahead into these turns, and at this moment I'm being passed, but this is only temporary because next we're going to have enough time for me to get into the fifth, and this turn I can take in the fifth and then go ahead and press forward to try to catch up to the opponent. Then we are going to have a turn. I have to drop back to the fourth, but from here on again I can increase my speed, go into the fifth and try to push with Nitro into the sixth as I'm cutting the corner here. And now we are passing another opponent and we are dropping down into the fourth in order to do these turns here. Now we did that turn pretty cleanly. This one is not so clean, sadly, but next few we're gonna do much better. Again, I'm gonna slow down properly, take the turn, and then try to speed up out of it, but without Nitro because there's not enough time to use Nitro. And we're going to clear head next turns. And now we're just gonna press forward with all the Nitro we have, just in order to improve our time because we're gonna finish third. And on this race, I usually just finish either second or fourth or third, never first. Coastal range to oil fields is a good race to demonstrate the issue with this car and turns further, as the race has many turns at the start, but then it is mostly straights.
Three, two, one.
So here we go, we start off and we try to push forward as usual to the opponents, and we cannot really speed up here beyond the fourth because there are quite a few turns, and of course the opponents are also pushing us into the sides, which is not helping us. But here we go, we try to catch up to the ones in front of us. We are in the fourth position right now, which is pretty good, but as you can see, we are getting past because we are going through the turns here, and we are unable to push through the turns as fast as our opponents, or when we get out of the turns we are unable to speed up as fast as our opponents. But as soon as turns end, we are able to go ahead and speed up. Here again we are in the fourth, but we're trying to pass the opponents, and we're able to do so because they just were not doing so well on the turns in that case. But we are unable right now to catch up to the two cars that are in front of us until now, where we're now pushing forward into the six because we are pretty much going through the straights. And this was the race that kind of solidified for me the fact that there was an issue with the turns. So I discovered this issue with the turns kind of just looking for what people were talking about the real car. We just went through the turn in the fifth, and then we got out using nitro in the sixth, and we are pushing forward. So as I was listening to people talk about the real car, they all mentioned one thing, that the car was slow to accelerate in the lower gears, and that's what kind of got me thinking about that there was an issue when the car was going into the turns. And now we passed the last of our opponents, and here we go, we're coming up, there's going to be a turn, we have to drop down to the third, and despite of that I still hit the side because I didn't brake enough. But as a result of that, I did lose some of the distance between me and the opponents, and I'm gonna make it up because I'm pushing through into the sixth using nitro, and again I'm pushing forward here and just driving. And at this moment right here, when I'm driving in the sixth in the top RPMs, I'm kind of hoping that there was a seventh gear just to go into, because I have no issues just going straight here, and as you can see, I have no issues building up the time and the distance from my opponents. And like I said, this was a race when I was able to confirm the fact that it was the turns that were holding this car back. It's inability not to enter the turns, but more of its inability to leave the turns and accelerate fast enough without the nitro, like I'm doing here, in order to keep the distance between me and the opponents, or to catch up to the opponents. As soon as there are turns, I'm losing that distance. The car is just unable to do it on its own. And this is kind of what I think kind of holds the car back. Otherwise, it really does a good job going forward. And here we are going. We're just flying forward in the sixth gear at the very high RPMs. We are very close to the finish of the race, and here's another turn. I'm going into the fourth, but again, nitro, and I get out. I have ability to speed up and just get into the sixth, and there's no way to catch up to me right now from the opponents, because the car performs so well when it has the room just to accelerate, and when it has the ability to go in the last few gears, like in the fifth or the sixth. When it's accelerating in the first to the fourth, that's where we have problems. So first of all, I want to say that I really like sports sedans. To me, they are the cars for people who have responsibilities but want to have a powerful car. A sports sedan could be used to drive a whole family around because of the back seats and still enjoy the drive. They are practical and fun at the same time. When it comes to Alpha Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, I find that everything is good with the car except that it's held back by slow acceleration as it exits the turns. I would have liked it if it wasn't for that fact, but it is not enough for me to dislike it. There were definitely races where I enjoyed driving the car. For this reason, I'm saying that I'm indifferent to it. And yes, I know that in advanced settings I can tune the car to deal with this acceleration issue, but I'm too lazy to do extra work when there are other cars available. Thank you for watching and listening. If you like this video, please like it. If you didn't like it, don't like it, and please subscribe.